ones that are not Christian. Is that fair to say?
I mean, hey, I'm normal. I mean, thank you for exposing me. Hey, Bangalore, I'm Christian, Arab from the Middle East. If you want my money, come get it, buddy. Come get it. Give it a shot.
Come and take it.
Come and take it, bro. Like there. Come on, come get it.
What I like about Norm is that, for the most part, I do not really hear Norm getting triggered, but I do hear Norm getting legitimately frustrated when people don't let him engage. One of the things that's very frustrating, I've noticed is happening for Norm over the past few days, is Norm is a good listener, and so it's easy for you to get their point. When they say 30% of their sentence, you're like, oh, I got it. But of course, it's frustrating for that person, even though you did deduce accurately what they were going to say. You still gotta let them finish, and then they respond. It's very annoying.
Yeah. Hey, I have an idea. If Bangalore, if you want, what you can do is set up a GoFundMe page for your little Jizya idea, and I might give you $1. Come on.
You can set up a go fuck yourself page.
I think it's a certain percentage. It's usually no.
I think it might be a trial. That's the I think I'd be a trial.
And normally, no percentage is that we attribute on zakat when it's given by when it's 45% of your salary. There's no limit on which is that. In fact, historically, we have reports of being around 10% to 20% of the salaries.
Up to 50%.
Yes, and you will have a member, for example, that you need to we try to go on a bank. Detail. What's very
And you know this I because you grew up in Islam, so I have a first-hand relationship with it.
sorry.
So you know this because you grew up in Islam, and so you have a first-person relationship with all of this.
I mean, there's no Muslim country that does the JCL, but it used to be before under the Catholics. And yet, because I grew up as Muslim, I left when I was 26 before. I was
I mean, it looks like in Gaza, for example, it looks like Hamas is exacting the tax from all the people who live there. So if it's not jizya, I read recently that this is how they fund themselves. They're taxing the population 10 to 15%. That's what I was saying. So I don't know if this is related. I'm not that familiar with the Muslim taxation system. So if anybody wants to explain it to me, you can. But the interesting thing is that Mandalorian, I owe him money. And right now I'm in New York, and I guess Friday owes him money.
Come get it. Come get it.
Friday, I think, is in, I'm going to make up a place.
Yes.
No, I was going to say, what's one of those, what's one of those funny names I have over there?
Benefit.
Well, none of it.
Moose with the Celtic.
There's one that has Moose in the name, I thought.
Moose, there's a lot of them.
Moose Jaw. Okay, or Moose Tentacles or something like that.
We got a place up here called Moose Head.
Yeah, hey Zach, why do you not want any Muslims to immigrate to
I was just joking. Yeah, I was just joking.
It's
funny because he said, because
recording it. You wouldn't like that.
no, it's funny because he said, I don't believe any Muslim should emigrate here, and the funny response is, good, we don't want you to emigrate here either, you fucker. Sorry for cursing, sorry.
Many Muslim people. I went to predominantly Muslim countries for many. I've never encountered any Muslim person ever, and I unfortunately hung around extremists, not intentionally, but I just was in that situation, and I've never been asked for jizya until today.
I very much do not have a problem with Muslim people. I live in a place where there are some Muslims around, and they're very fine people. So I don't have a problem with Muslims. I was just trying to be funny.
Yeah, I really do think that Mandalore should set up a GCN GoFundMe. Maybe we
Oh,
can.
then your average speaker, you know, that which is there's only 500 academy. That's why.
Yes, Alhamdulillah. Alhamdulillah.
Marty, I'm sorry. The business that I'm starting up and don't steal the ideas is on me.
Okay, no, why?
It had to be done. Come on, I think that's pretty darn good.
So let's go, yes, and a question for Sabina. Sabina, you said something earlier, okay, if I ask you the question?
Yeah, sure.
Okay, so, you said something about maybe family units should be allowed to immigrate, not single men and women. Do you put the culpability on, like, when you have something disgusting, like what happened to Sarah, like these young men, following her, looking at her child, all of this is completely disgusting, horrible. Um, I put the blame on the number one, the young man. I think men should be held to a much higher standard in today's society than they are. But the second place I go is the parents. Like for you, who do you put the blame on? The country letting them in, the young man, the parents, their religion. Like, how do you think about that?
I would say it would be like a multiple different things. So I would agree that I think in her case it wasn't men, it was little boys, and yeah. So I think society needs to be more firm on boys. But yeah, I would also blame the parents, but I would also blame the government for not enforcing. So that's why when Rakerman came out and said, this was going on, and she was doing the job that maybe some other politicians didn't do because they didn't enforce the law. So there should be enforcing the law as well, if that makes sense. But the reason I was saying that family units come together are better is because they will be able to, it takes like a village to raise kids. So bringing a bunch of single men from a war zone into a new country is not a good idea, you know. Even when you look at the migration patterns of like the early 1900s, when you look at like immigrants that were like coming from Europe and stuff, it just worked better when you bring family units rather than single people. Like, does that make sense?
I'm struggling with something there because, and I realize there's multiple factors. You see, if I have a boy and a young man who's 13 years old and an amazing girl who's 9. If my son did that, my God, I would lose my mind. I would absolutely lose my mind. And I would lose my mind. First, I blame myself as a father. Young boys look up to their father. My problem with the family unit thing is like that person who did that. Maybe you don't know about their situation, but in general, just bringing the family unit over. I don't know that solves the problem because like that's what the family or you don't know about some circumstance. Maybe their father died, whatever, or that you just I don't know that solves the problem, right? I think the family.
Right. Yeah, that's it. But if you brought in, let's say you brought in like thousands of European men and brought them into India or the Middle East or Bahrain. Let's say you brought like thousands of like young, European men from the age of like 18 to 30. They would feel threatened by that. That would threaten any population if you bring that many people in. Because who's going to marry these young men, right? And then they're home as well. So that's different. Like if you bring a bunch of seniors, it wouldn't be the same. The seniors won't be able to give back to society in the same way, but they can take care of that. They're removing those young men from their structure, like their seniors, like their the elders, like there's a whole group of culture, I'll give you an example. In my culture, this is a well-known thing that happens, if you guys can hear me. When a young kid, right, from my country misbehaves sometimes Somali parents will take them back to Somalia and leave them there. Yeah.
Well, that's what?
Yeah, it's called the Qan'anis is return to the culture. Why? Because if you come here and you can't follow the rules here, you have to go back home and learn how suffering there is.
I think if they return back home, there was like a war torn.
No, but that's the point. Sometimes you're sending them to death because it's dangerous, right? But the point is that if you're misbehaving here, some parents will take you back there so that you can learn better.
That's insane. And they were grounding a kid. Grounding. And then in America, we have a thing, we take away privileges like no television or something like that. We don't
No,
know.
this is,
Back to Somalia.
I'm telling you, it works. I've seen them, they come back straight enough because they understand that you're living.
Yeah, I would.
Yeah. Some people consider it abuse. I'm not saying this is the right thing to do, but it's a form of deportation. Like, our people do this to each other. Like, and so if a young daughter starts behaving a certain way, you send her back, and when they come back, usually they're scarred. It's really extreme to do, but at least it gives them perspective. It allows them to understand that, okay, that's how people living there, they come back more appreciative and less likely to do violence.
I just want to say that as an American, I absolutely disagree with having to pay a jizz tax, which is a poll tax essentially, but American men and women should never have to pay a jizz tax to, barbarian conquistadors.
And the tax on Jews.
So interesting you say that. So what my dad, when I got off path and I came home with a B, or heaven forbid a B minus, he would threaten me with going back to the homeland. But if for a different reason, he made to leave the homeland and to leave the homeland for a better future for us. So it's interesting the way it's framed in.
That's the same thing. Yeah.
You think it written?
Yeah, it's the same thing. Yeah, because it's supposed to teach you, like, you made a sacrifice to come here. Why are we going to become a gangbanger or something like that? Right?
B minus.
No, it's
We're a jizz tax collector.
But I don't know. It's not just grades. It's like other things. It's more severe things. Like it's extreme stuff that they're sent back for.
For me, it was a B minus.
Could you be sent back for murder for reconditioning and then come back a good person?
There's a local politician here in my state who says that she's from Somalia. She says that her number one priority, now that she's a member of the American House of Representatives, is to help Somalia.
Wait, I just want to say something quickly, because Sarah, you said in the chat that there is no honest Muslim. That would be considered Islamophobia, actually. That comment would be considered Islamophobia. Why do you say that?
Talking about the taquilla.
I think I would call that Islam hate.
Sorry, I picked myself up. I'm talking about that phenomenon where they're allowed to lie. If you say, "Are you Muslim?" and then they say, "No, I'm not," and I've heard it a few times in Clubhouse, where they're like, "I'm not Muslim," blah 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 blah, and yeah, there's some kind of thing where they lie because they have to protect themselves somehow from being perceived as Muslim, which in itself is an oxymoron, right? If you were living honestly, you wouldn't need to lie.
And only if your life was threatened.
I thought it's this if you're captured, like it's in a war type thing.
Yeah.
But I'm talking about genuinely.
They're saying like Muslims saying that they are Muslims, saying that they actually are Islamic or the young thing. Yeah.
But if you're being hunted, right? Let's say the way like the Jews were being hunted, like in World War II, like you can't lie and say look who did you do that and that kind of situation.
Christians and Jews are hunting Muslims now?
No, I said in World War II the Jews were being hunted.
I would like to answer that. I would like to answer that. See, you must first understand the concept of Islamic division of areas. Islam is basically, you can say, broadly divided into uh, categories. One is Darul Aman, where the Islam is reigns supreme. It is under Islamic control. Then there is Darul Haram, that is where Islam is at war with others. Whether you like it or not, it is always at war with infidels. So the Muslim country is Darul Haram. Okay, so they are at war, whether you realize it or not. They are at war. They want to war more. So it is permissible to lie, and it is not just Turkey. You can go to Kitover or Hira and other forms of deception. And if you go to the Islamic rooms, you will find a lot of these kind of lies they say, and it is almost compulsory lying that they do. At least when it comes to the scriptures.
You said during law, right? So sorry, I don't know. Anyway.
During war, and they're always at war because they're at war with the enemy. Do you play Hitman anything?
Sorry.
Do you play those other forms like Hitman?
Yes, like Tamaria is creative lying. Creative lying means I'll reply the points. Like if somebody comes and asks me, do you have a penny in your pocket? I'll say,
Yeah.
I'm having
It's
a
like the
pound.
logical means of it.
Yes, exactly.
I'm sorry, I think that's you. I didn't hear what he said. Say it again.
So if you come and ask me as a Muslim, do you have a penny with you? I might not be having a penny with me, but I might be having a limited amount in my pocket. But you were asking for pennies in it. So basically, I'm deceiving my, thing. I don't have any penny.
You're a penny pincher.
So is that like sort of over literalization, or is that lying by omission?
There are other forms of lying. I think you should read on it. Lying by omission is given, I guess. Given. Yeah, Tamaria is creative lying. ChatGPT, classical Islamic scholarship, both Sunni and Shia, refers to three primary exceptions for lying. I asked him what the minimum bar for lying is. In war, deception about plans or movements is allowed to protect the Muslim side. Number two, to reconcile between people, softening or altering words to end the conflict or restore relationships without unjust harm.
What's that called?
I asked ChatGPT, what's the yeah, I don't know what it's called, but it gave three categories. So category one was in war.
That's given to the side. And that we're always there because they're always in one state. So war is a permanent state. That's what they pointed out.
I'm not sure that's true. I don't know. Saudi Arabia. So I don't know if Saudi Arabia, maybe the police or something. And then it says to reconcile between people or to protect yourself under unjust harm. See, I explained you did not get what I explained. If you categorize the non-Muslim countries are as haram, that is the mode of war. Even when they are living peacefully in their minds, it is all kinds of jihad. It is jihad. If you cannot speak out, it is jihad from the heart. You have to condemn it by heart, from heart. Like what is happening in democratic countries, they are electing, they have mandate laws. So the Muslims are to condemn from their heart. Okay, when they are able to speak out, they speak out. Like what Rashid and somebody woman, Ilham Omar is doing, they are speaking out. Then comes and all other means, and then comes the sword finally. So in many of the countries, the sword that they are not reached that level.
I don't know if I met you in a room before. He said the same thing about Ilhan Omar. There's no Islamists in this earth that would consider her Muslim enough. Like, he is like supports LGBT. She supports the far or the left in America. That's not Islamic, and no one would ever consider that Islamism. Are you aware that the Islamists don't believe a woman should be in a position of power? She should even be in government. This is why a lot of Muslims that are in the district don't even vote for her. I can show you many clips of them, and they don't vote for her. You know who votes for her? A lot of the white progressives. So all the white progressives that, or whatever, black progressives in America that like, Marxism, or not just Marxism, whatever, socialism, whatever it is that her and Zoran and them push, these are not Islamists. And for you to think that they are, it's literally insane. Like, she would never be allowed to be government.
Yeah, but Sabina, it's all about perspectives. To an American, they think that they are Islamists. To an Islamist, they're not Islamist enough, but they're still Islamists.
Yeah, no, but John, A is from India, so you should know better. Half of his population is Indian, or Muslim.
Know better, and why do you say he's doing this again? He's giving you his opinion, which to him is the correct opinion.
Okay, I can accept his opinion. However, he's not from America, right? And I know that the country he's from, he would have more knowledge on this. I have a lot of close friends who are Indian and Pakistani who are Muslim, right? This is not a new concept to them, in the same way Americans might not understand Islam well. So, John, I know what you're saying, but I'm telling you, he knows better. He's pushing propaganda.
Oh, really? He should know better, and he's pushing propaganda as if you should know better, and maybe you're pushing your propaganda.
Okay, if she's Islamic, then I might as well be too. We all might as well be. Okay, fine. Let everyone just wait for themselves.
So that's there is a concept. That's why I said there's a different concept called Murna. Murna means temporary suspension of 1 second. I'm done. Temporary suspension of what you call Sharia law to view the infidels. I'll tell you an example. ISIS, defending that they issued an order. Those in the West can mingle with the infidels. They can drink alcohol. They can have more, and then to fool the infidels. And when time comes, they can actually attack. This is called flow attack. That is the fool. There was an incident in Europe wherein a person converted to Christianity. He actually took baptism. He one second more. He took baptism and he was a regular and he went on the stabbing spree. So when authorities investigated, it was found that he was a regular and he was just to prove the evidence that he was with time that he converted to Christianity. So what is it about that?
So similar to this is love Jamal. Which ones are there in engage in behavior pretending to love any woman, and they marry them, and then if they don't change, they would force them to convert. If not, the consequences are really bad. So that's just another example of this ideology, which is, in its essence, is menacing and troubling.
Exactly. Now they are one few steps ahead. Now they are alienating their motive in stars in the name of Hindus, like they provide something religious that is related to Hinduism. And they are also pretending to be Hindu holy men, that is sadhus. Only when the mom questions them and come to know her religion, come to know about their identity, they have found to be Muslims. So this is deception by any means. I know that. Okay, AJ. Yeah, I have a question to ask you. So where's the evidence for this allowed for this normal situation?
might say something by omission, right? That's something that's thinking about in a normal situation.
It's like how amazing what you just said. So here's a person who wants the entire world to pay him a tax because he's a Muslim and they are. And this is a man who practices 5 different kinds of lying and deception, and now he's accusing somebody else of not telling the truth. Is it coincidence? This is coincidence. No. It's just like, it's this peak of irony. That's a human nature.
It is.
You haven't seen a new peak of irony. It's amazing. No. I was trying to defend it like that, and actually, it's insane. No, the funny thing. This is unbelievable.
Is that you couldn't even address my point without muting me.
Oh, no, we didn't make it. We just never
No,
did it.
and that's what you think. Because when I was you decided to mute. Going on to
Changing the subject.
I was going on to ask AJ what his evidence is in regards to making istihad on things like pork or alcohol. He will have no evidence for it. No, because it doesn't exist. Also the other point that Heidi made earlier about
And explain about the different kinds of deception, as you know.
in regards to so you have Qatiyya, which is in regards to a situation of life or death. Kitman also is also under that context. In this situation of Tawliyya, it's not in the same context as Taqiyya. And for one, it's not classified as lying. Oh, if you like, I literally brought citations. No. If you go to the chat, I brought citations for every point that I mentioned. Here's the thing. I'm not just because you're and you're trying to constantly mute me. I'm not gonna make it normal.
I don't know. That's fine.
Question. I'm not avoiding the question.
It's deception when it's not lying. You know what you just said.
No, it isn't.
Okay, don't forget.
That's not even what I said.
Yeah, it is.
I said Kitman falls under the same type of ruling as Taqiyya. The Sunni version of this, the Sunni definition of Taqiyya is different than what Ali is used to, for because Ali comes from a Shia background. And the Shia understanding of Taqiyya is different. Yeah, if you hide your figure, I didn't mean a life or death situation, it's allowed.
What's that ethnic group that you mentioned is your part of? Because I want to learn more.
A lot of, that's the plural term, singular term. H-A-E-H-R-A-M-I.
That's your tribe.
That's not a tribe, no, it's a ethnic. It's
Say it again, H-A-B.
H-A-D, D as in David. H-A-D-H-R-A-M-I.
H-R-A-M-I. H-A-D-H-R-A-M-I. That's right. Okay. Which country is this?
They're found in eastern Yemen and parts of Oman.
That's not safe.
You said Arman? I've never heard of the country Arman.
So
You mean
they're found
Oman?
in parts of Kenya, and originally from like southern Yemen, but they're found in Kenya, Malaysia, Indonesia, and many Gulf states.
Are you claiming these needs to be from Oman? Because previously you were.
I said eastern Yemen and parts of Oman.
Are you claiming these yes or no? Are you
I
claiming
just said, I told you where they're, I literally told you where they're from because
these days to be from?
what you're trying to do is you're trying to literally, my goodness, even the Saudis in the comments are laughing at you.
No.
What's before you are Armenian?
Are you claiming to be from Oman?
I said Roman and not Armenian. Sabine, I never mentioned Armenian.
You used to be Armenian.
I have never said that.
I've never said.
I know your name before.
From Oman? Okay. Sabina, what was my name?
He used to claim, Armenian.
Are you claiming to be from Oman these days? Sabina, like if. Are you claiming to be from Oman these days, man? No. I said. Do I need to keep explaining it to you? No, are you from Oman? Yes or no? Yeah, in terms of where my family clan is, yes. Your family? So they stretch from Oman. There's no harm against your given until. Are you from Oman? You're not from Oman. I think you answered the question. Yes. I wanted to ask. No, is it okay? Being very deceptive. We're learning a lot about it. We're not listening. I said, we're learning this.
He's doing tequila. He's doing tequila. Yeah.
This is Takia in action. Takia Clown House.
This is practice. Yep.
This is not to be. Everybody is just because of no, I'm literally more geographically illiterate. No, because ask you where you're from. You're from Lufar, right? No, Lufar. DHOFAR. Look at what that is. Okay. So you want me to guess where you're from? No, it's not guessing. Anybody can say. Okay. Thank you for participating. You're a man of mystery. It's mysterious to tell us where you're from. I get it. Where? Okay. Well, Lufar is Western Oman. You should ask him a question.
He's gone, and
No, I just think that he's deadening because no matter what you ask him, he's got some other kind of crazy answer. And he thinks he's this is, again, maybe somebody who's supposed to explain this to me. It's a particular kind of refusing to question any folks do. Sabina, then he says, did you hear me? Then he says, I told you. Then he says, you're too stupid to know. Then he says, use Google. And he didn't answer a question. And he didn't teach you after a while. This is also, I think, a conflict between civilizations and cultures. There's literally no way to get a straight answer. Sorry. You're trying to get back up. Let's hear somebody else because he's like, yeah, it's deadening to hear such brain dead avoidance of a simple conversation.
You know, even if it was Jews, I have this concept of perception. It makes his answers or unanswered questionable. So again, it's a problem. It should be believed or not. These concepts of perception exist. So that's becomes very problematic. Because it's like knowledge of perception exists. I can accept kind of ways in its own. And so then we have less of this problem. And nobody will believe you if you are ignorant. Just because of these perception concepts in its own.
I can't think of any other world religions that have embedded multi-layered deception practices. I can't think of any world religion that has that in their system of belief.
What will it take to get What will it take to get Islam to undergo a reform, a reformation, so that violence and killing of apostates and infidels and jihad, what will it take to reform the religion to an actual religion? The woman would have to turn on the men from the inside, I think.
It's underway right now with MBS in Saudi Arabia. I don't know, what do you think?
That's what I was hoping.
Also, let's not exaggerate MBS kind of leniency towards women. Two things I can remember the last decade. Two things. One, when allowed to drive, what they do. And the next one is when women are allowed to live their own chaperoned by a young male of the family. If you appreciate the ambition, the desire for this religion to modernize itself, but modernization and moderation as ongoing develops on a contradiction between not.
I don't see somebody spiritual here. Hate to dump all this garbage on you guys already know, but like I said, she's a great person, but it wouldn't be respectful to her, to women as such, when a guy goes for the woman that he doesn't respect. Just can't be that way.
No, I totally get it, and don't apologize, I asked. I actually have to head off, but Shabbat Shalom to everybody, and I will catch up with you later.
Yeah, thank you for hearing me out. Yeah, I'm sitting ready to be anybody out there driven some dark, nice bullshit. Skokie someplace. I don't know. Skokie's still mostly Jewish, or at least considerably Jewish. This is my delis that I like over there. Well, August 30th, Jewish things like that. 50 bucks, such a day.
Example, I never had to live obviously as a Muslim woman, but I feel like the younger generation of Muslim women, they want to work, they want to have more freedom, they want to be able to have love relationships and not have arranged marriages and so forth. And it seems to me that this is, at least from a Western perspective, it's inevitable. But maybe I'm wrong, maybe I don't understand Islam very well. I really, go ahead. I think
I'd settle for them not killing people who disagree with them.
well, you're asking a lot.
There's a huge obstacle when you're looking to Islam against reformation that will actually last and implement strong safeguards against misogyny and inequality and apartheid systems. When you examine Islam, for me, it's really like a constant revolution towards the past because there's this.
This case of Moulana, it is saying that his believers that he has converted to Christianity and the bombing, illegal bombing.
So you send this to me back channel?
Yeah.
Okay, I'll look for it. The gentleman who wanted to ask the question, go ahead.
Yeah, thank you, Honorable. This is a question for the room. There have been polls done there's a specific poll I'm thinking about, done of over 8,000 Indian Muslim women, which found that 67% of Indian Muslim women wanted to ban Sharia law inside India. Now again, India has like 230 to 250 million Muslims, so I think that's a lot of Muslims. Why would Muslim women want that? And does that suggest that there is this wave of liberalism within large chunks of the global Muslim population?
I can answer that. I don't know what is the exact percentage, but women have been suffering a lot in India because the personal law is allowed, that is Sharia law is partially allowed in India. The punishment part is not allowed, that is Samudhat is not allowed, but the personal laws are allowed. So the clerics have been using, not only the clerics, the family, even the family members have been using it to subjugate women for since independence, even before independence also. If you go to the courts, you'll find a lot of divorce cases where they are not getting any maintenance, and even property, even the division of property. The first claim to property of, if I'm a woman, my father's property would be divided among his relatives, and only part of that would be given to me. So that puts a lot of because I'm actually fighting against this. They want the secular law. So one of the advocates, you know what he did? He remarried according to Indian Special Marriage Act, which gives the right of property to his two daughters. So now the people are following this instead of doing only for Islamic marriage, they are also registering the marriage under the special provision so that their property can be given without any legal dispute to their children. Not only that, there are many other cases which is languishing in Indian courts, which takes a lot of time to resolve. And usually it is to the disadvantage of the Muslim women because this all are interpreted as per Sharia. I mean, the religious books. So that was the main problem. And look at Kitover talaq. It was so prevalent around the Muslim men to just say talaq, talaq,
Un
talaq.
poquito de estudio en colegio y la escuela de la secundaria.
You know, say talaq,
Para
talaq,
4
talaq, just
años.
divorce the women. You know, after having 3 children, where will she go? She's not even allowed to have a job or not allowed to have a property, anything, nothing. So she is on the streets. Her children are also on the streets. Now she married someone else, and then you know these children will be abused by the stepfather, and abuse goes around, and they will not be raised as a good citizens. So definitely women are getting educated. They want to do away with this Sharia law. Yeah.
So here's a question: why isn't this the case with UK, where there is far more support for Sharia law than there is support for Sharia law in Muslims who don't live in the UK?
Some of them are confronted to Sharia law and they know what it is, and some of them in the West, they fantasize about this and these horrible facts about Sharia in other countries. They say those countries are not really Muslims and it's not the true Sharia. We believe in the true Sharia and where women will be happy no matter what. That's the double distinction they have. Exactly. Exactly. It's saying everywhere that women still waiting to talk.
One thing that I listened to a few like people that I don't know have degrees or stuff, and they can talk about this like at length. Another thing is that there's actually like quite a societal divide between Muslims and like everybody else in the UK. And I think that part of the reason why it's specifically second generation children of immigrants are born into Muslim families. They're actually much more extreme than their parents were. I think part of it is because they feel like outsiders in the UK. Literally what I feel like is happening. And so they actually find a lot of their identity when they're coming of age in Islam. And that's why they're becoming more extreme than they are where, like, you know, in Saudi Arabia, they're like, the youth are all like leaving Islam en masse, right? So, yeah, I really think that's a huge part of it as well.
Is there a contrarian in the room who actually can support or, you know, espouse Sharia and tell us about the beautiful, wonderful, benefits, you know, that people can enjoy? Like, is anybody here an actual supporter?
Not a supporter, but I can explain why people like it. Because it's totally designed for Playboy men. I mean, it's totally designed for players. Other than that, yeah, go ahead.
I would like to ask Sabina a question. Are you from America? Okay. So, okay, I'll ask a question about Ilhan Omar. Ilhan Omar once claimed that, you know, Islam prohibits interest on loans, isn't it? So your student loans will have no carry no interest. Can you explain me how she gaslighted the people? Because I'll explain after that.
Can you explain how she gaslighted them, sir?
Yeah.
He's asking that Ilhan Omar has said that there should be interest on loans, right? That she's made comments like that.
Yeah, to me that's is he saying that's tequila or is that politicians? Because Biden said he would get rid of all those student loans every politician promises to do something, so it's so
No, this is a different thing. What he's talking about is Elon Omar saying to get rid of interest itself as a concept.
I understand that, but politicians make promises like that, like Biden said, that, we get rid of student loans altogether, not just the interest, the whole thing. That's what his promise is. Meaning that she does that, one moment, sir, hold on. She's a politician in America, right? So you're arguing that when she does it, it's tequila. She's not even a developed, like,
No, he's arguing that it's Sharia to me.
that it's a form of Sharia when she says it.
Yeah, abolishing interest is a Muslim concept. That's what it is.
Okay, hold on. This is what I don't understand, right? And this is why some people don't understand the different geographical locations, right? What's happening in India is not like you don't have Omar.
Do you understand that in Islam they do not like interest? Do you understand that?
Yes, I know that. It's called the riba.
Hang on, wait, hang on. So what the other gentleman said was that Elon Omar says we should abolish interest, that is a Muslim concept. Do you get that? Abolishing interest, okay, that's all he's saying.
Right, but I'm arguing that that's not coming from her Islamic perspective. That is actually coming from the what do you call it, like no, Bernie Sanders and the whole socialist group.
Bernie Sanders never said abolish interest, and socialism never said abolish interest. It's a uniquely Muslim concept.
We have said to abolish and go back.
Right. So abolishing a student loan is not Sharia. That's not abolishing interest. So if somebody says, for example, I want people to wear a hijab, you can say, well, somebody else wears a hat when it's cold out. Yes, they do. But wearing a hijab is different. So abolishing interest is a specifically Sharia custom or law. That's all it is.
Okay, that's fine. Look, there's going to be certain things that Muslims say that are very similar to other Abrahamic religions because it's the same things that Abrahamic religion, right? Now I know that. I know that.
This is not like Tamina. It's not like Abrahamic religion. This is specifically Sharia.
And Sharia is part of Islam, correct? No.
It is Islamic law.
Okay, so and Islam is not an Abrahamic religion.
That's not relevant to what we're saying.
No other religions talk about getting rid of interest.
Elon Omar, who is a Muslim woman, suggesting that we abolish interest is a Sharia idea.
Okay, I'm asking you guys, and that's all I'm asking you to acknowledge the fact that yes, she's Muslim, but also acknowledge that she's from Somalia, and Somalia never had Sharia law. She never lived under
Not the question, but you do understand
my
that
answer is
abolishing
not
interest
okay.
is a Sharia idea.
Sure.
And nobody else has ever said that, except for her. Not Bernie, not Biden.
Okay, so hold on. Then nuns wear head coverings, yes? Okay. Okay. Yeah, so is the Pope implementing Islamic law when it tells them to cover their head?
Not in that case, that's different than interest.
Oh, so there's overlap. Hold on, so that means there's overlap.
There isn't really any overlap. She's the only person that ever suggested that. So are you denying that Elon Omar suggesting that we abolish interest? Are you denying that that's a Muslim idea?
She doesn't know.
Some idea.
What do you think?
It's fine, or but what I'm saying is that okay, she's not an Islamist. That's all I'm gonna end the conversation with. If you guys and normal, you know exactly what Islamist is. You know what Hamas is and so on. If you're arguing that she is, then AJ said she was. Are you here when he said it? Well, that's exactly. That's what I said. It's not that scared about this. Exactly. She's been saying every single thing that the leftists say. That she parents all of them. They all say the same stuff. What's her called? Right. Which would not fly in Muslim countries. That's why I don't talk. Thank you. Okay, thank you. That's all.
However, there's a difference with banning interest and the rest of it. Banning interest does not come from any other major political faction in the United States. That's fundamentally different. Now, maybe anyone doesn't know that. She's not very well read.
Guys, my prediction came true, by the way. Remember I told you Jews bring Muslims into the West? Well, guess what? A Jew in Canada just got attacked by a Muslim, and it was recorded, and it happened right before I said it would happen. It's haunted.
It's 20 hours old. It shows a Jewish man, and I think his daughter's about 5. And this guy is beating the guy up. His daughter's swearing all over the place, something like that. Oh yeah, I've seen the video. It's pretty fucked up,
But
actually.
this somehow is trying to blame Jewish people for bringing Muslims in, which is like kind of like a Aryan nation, like KKK, like the Jews are destroying society by bringing black folks or by bringing Muslim folks. It's a particularly virulent form of delusion. It's nonsense. It's stupid.
Okay. The point I was making,
I wanted this picture so you understand. It's the concept of usury in Christianity, and that is for access interest. It's not for zero interest. The concept of zero interest specifically comes from Sharia law. I don't know any other major thinkers or philosophers who push that. Now, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe there is something, but I would like to know who that is.
okay, I finished it.
Thing is, you will hear only about the ban on marijuana. That is a fucking interest rate. But the problem is how do they get around that? Okay. So what they do is they rename the interest. They call it profit. For example, if I take up a loan of 100,000 US dollars, they will add 50,000 US dollars to the wholesale amount, making 1,50,000 and call it profit. 50,000 is the profit, and then they will divide it into EMIs, and you will have to pay the EMIs. And the Muslims themselves are complaining that this is more than the usual interest rate they will have to pay. See, initially they will never say about this. And you know what? If I was talking to a banker, and he was saying that we are getting a lot of deposits because the Muslims are not taking interest. Means they don't want interest. I told them, do you know what the other part says? He said, no, we don't know. See, the other part says this is a real trap. When Muslim is investing in a company or in a bank, you're not getting interest, but you have to pay a portion of your profit. Sorry, profit. So, what is the percentage of the profit that you will pay? It is defined. So, if they ask for 50% of profit, you will have to give them because you have not given them interest. So, this is the kind of trap that we get into. They give nice, sweet promises. When you're trapped, then they'll have you back.
The reason you have that perspective is because your country used to be ruled by Muslims, right? So that's probably why you have that perspective, right? That's why you're like, oh, they come in, they'll take over, because what happens to you.
Hello?
No, no, but that is what happens to you. They were ruled by Muslims. by the way, the people who speak like this on the right, they consider India a shithole country too, and they think they're the biggest influence to the country. What's your response? Every country was a shithole country at some point, and then became something, and then went back to being a shithole, and then became something, and went back. It just comes and goes. What was a shithole to?
When was America a shithole?
Are you serious? You don't know how bad it is. Compared to many places in the 1800s, 1700s, 1600s, it was shithole. You're talking about the proxy war that the Americans and the French had on the land? That period you're talking about? And moving forward, 100
So it was like a shithole country for like a year, and then it became a nation, basically.
No, not a year. A long time.
You know,
I
going back.
would actually say that the reason why the U.S. has never been a shithole country because since its inception, it has had the Constitution, which has actually made it so that people can't get away with as much. I know that there's a lot of corruption in the U.S., but nearly as much corruption as to like what's happening in the UK, for example, or what's happening in all those shithole countries, you know? So I would actually say that it was never a shithole.
Sabina, you know, I was just reading the Constitution yesterday or the day before, and it is actually a rather complicated document in terms of reading it and being able to comprehend it. It's rather complicated because it takes in hundreds of years of English legal history and theory. So there's a lot of thought that went into those rules, you know. And so I'm just wondering, like, do you think the Muslims also have a, you know, if there is their set of rules, like, is it as complex as the Constitution?
Yeah, I would argue that the Quran is a very difficult book to read. You have to learn Arabic. Yeah.
Oh, I can't read an English translation? I gotta read it in the Arabic?
You have to learn, no, you can learn. Was he asking me or, okay, never mind, John. You just ask Simon.
One second. I understand, and you're saying it is very complicated. You're going against Allah. And Sabina, we were ruled by Muslims. We were invaded by Muslims. That would be the right phrase. Okay. And we were ruled by Muslims.
So you weren't ruled? You weren't ruled either?
We were included by the Muslims that
Is it fair to say colonized?
colonized. Exactly.
Right, and so, hold on. So if you come from a country where you were colonized and mistreated, wouldn't that make your view of it different than other people that haven't been exposed to it, right? That's what I'm saying. I can understand, right, how you have a
He's anti-colonial. I thought everybody is anti-colonial.
Yeah, that's why okay, so if I could just land, that's my point. When Indians criticize Islam, when Indians criticize Islam, I think it comes from an anti-colonial perspective because they're colonized, so their way of understanding Islam is normal.
What about just that?
No one likes to be invaded and influenced. Am I allowed to finish talking, Simon? What I'm saying is, okay, you know what, stop, you know what, don't ask me questions, I just want to listen from now on, because if someone asks me a question, and then I can't keep on, so I'll just be quiet.
Say something, please. If somebody asks somebody a question, please let them speak. Go ahead, miss.
Well, let me ask you one more final question, Sabina.
No, don't ask me questions, ask someone else.
Okay, let me ask some other people in the room. If, you know, the former speaker, Anand said that being a Muslim is like being a playboy. Like, it gives the guys all the great benefits and the women are kind of used as like chattel. So, like, what are the great benefits of joining Islam?
Andrew Tate can tell you.
Is that anti-Semitic, Jew-hating kickboxer who rapes women in Romania?
And not stop trolling. That's a answer.
It can easily promote like toxic masculinity type of model for young boys, and it's attractive because they don't have to do anything. It's just boys to achieve it.
That's not true. That's not true. Men have to. Also, being a martyr and fighting for your land that's not a hard thing to do. If the Muslim men are supposed to protect their country and die as a martyr, that's easy things for a man to do. That's easy.
That sounds like a cult of death to me that you're making this word.
Okay, and Israel has forced conscription for kids to be in war all the time. It's also a cult of death, you can say too, correct?
No, that's called democracy. That's not called.
So how come they don't have a choice? Why is it forced
Well,
conscription?
they actually do have a choice. They can do social work instead.
Okay, perfect, but
What's about Israeli?
no, okay, you have every right to defend your country, right? But if someone said to you that the kids who are fighting right now in Israel, that they don't have a hard job, you would get upset, right? So is that what it's like? Because if they have to fight for their country and they die as martyrs, that's a hard thing to do. Don't say that it's an easy thing to do.
They don't die as martyrs. Why are you making up shit? Why you lying on
You can die as a martyr. Anyone can die as a martyr.
nothing?
Yeah, you can.
Do you read Hebrew? You said you have to read Arabic to know the Quran. Do you read Hebrew?
That's called attractive people, gothic people. Oh, really, that's so serious. Like, which legally has the right to beat your wife, your wife's possession. As a man, you have to how much you just have to
And
be
pedophilia, don't forget pedophilia.
just have to be a man grants you like so many advantages and privileges. It's just invisible, but obvious.
Yeah, I also want to point out Israeli conscription and Islamic sort of martyrdom they're nothing alike. I mean, Israel's drafts protect people from actual threats, and they train soldiers to survive and defend the country. Martyrdom, as used by extremists, is about seeking death to harm others. One defends life, the other destroys it. So the comparisons are absolutely ridiculous.
Right, the suicide bombers.
The ones that target civilians, yeah, they're terrorists, but regular soldiers that fight for their country are not terrorists.
Like Hamas.
I never said Hamas.
Actually, in Israelis were refugees, no? They were occupied land, we give them shelter.
And what about now? What about all the Muslims that were in combat for thousands of years?
Thousands and thousands of years? Really? I didn't know thousands and thousands of years.
Jewish people are not allowed to the land up for time. There is no Israel in anywhere because I am here.
You should look at your book, Father. Hang on a second, so you should look at your book, brother. Brother, Israel's in your book.
I like man, I like Zionist. You just many Israeli many times in Quran. And I would like to answer Sabina on the Indian issue. See, we have been colonized by both British and the Muslims. We never came to correct against British. I was pissed off as a Christian, as an ex-Christian. I was pissed off British more than the Hindus themselves. But they don't come up, they don't keep all this grudge against the Christians or. And what happened? The Muslims, it is not the British who divided the country, it was the Muslims. In 1934, they asked for a separate country because they said that we cannot live with the polytheist. They got two countries which they said that will make paradise out of it. What is the condition of Pakistan and Bangladesh? That shithole, much more shithole than us. Yes, we are a third world country, we are very complex, and we are progressing. We are a young country, and it is too complex. Unlike other countries, it is too complex that it will take some time to get our act together. I agree with that, but we do have a space program, and see the problem that now the Muslim population, there was no total population transfer to Pakistan. Those who voted for Pakistan stayed back in India. We allowed that. If it would have been any other country, they would have kicked them out. And now what they are doing is now their population has increased. Now you know what happened in my country? The Muslims took out a procession and a 10-year-old kid, I don't know whether he is 10-year-old, less than that probably. He has actually called for genocide of Christians and Hindus in India. He called for genocide of Christians and Hindus in India. This is the condition of this is what Muslims are doing in my country. And other things that they are doing is they drove out Kashmiri Pandits from Kashmir. 3 lakh people are refugees in my own country. Those are Hindus. And they are not allowed.
500,000 non-Muslim people died in Kashmir in a matter of days in 1990. That's ridiculous.
You know what announcement was made from the mosques because leave, convert or die. Early, Delhi, Chile. This was from mosque. This is happening in the free India. Okay? We don't have problem with the other. We have got other minorities like Parsis. You know, we have got Zoroastrian. They are the best minority that we have. They are the pioneers. We have got government in exile from Tibet. They are living peacefully here. But this is the only minority that is creating problem for others. That is why we have to take some steps for our own survival. It is not because that we hate or do something. We allow some everything. Even Sharia law is implemented here. Personal law is implemented. What else do you expect? But you are still not satisfied. I am a minority here. I am living peacefully. Believe me, if you are peaceful in India, you can live a very good life. Nobody is going to snatch your women or nobody is going to snatch your property. Imagine what would have happened if I was one on the wrong side of the line. If I would have been in Bangladesh or Pakistan, believe me, my mother, my sister, everybody will be abducted. There will be always a threat of abduction. I cannot have property because anytime a Muslim has property, they would accuse me of blasphemy and kill me. You know, even in conservative areas in India, I had beef, like in the Hindu majority. I used to have beef. You can have beef, okay, it's greedy, but the Muslims want to show their power or we cut open your rubber cow and show it to yeah, I will be, like, okay. That is when problem happens. By the way, Hindus from my area, they have beef.
Hey, Tobias, you're here. What's up, Tobias? How you doing? That was an epic night last night. Holy shit.
So yeah, no, that went on for quite a while. Actually, I left. I don't know how much longer you guys went on for.
When did the room close? It didn't close until like 4 o'clock today or something.
Wow, it's crazy.
Yeah, or 3 o'clock, yeah, something like that. I ended up leaving, but yeah, that was epic. Yeah, and fucking hell, that was like, yeah, it was just fun. Thanks, man.
Yeah,
First time back in the app in a year, that was epic.
Oh yeah, no, absolutely.
Tobias, I have a question. Actually, here, give me just 30 seconds.
Yeah, I just wanted to say to AJ that I've always felt that I know that most Indians are like good, hardworking people, and they're shaped by their sort of culture and faith that actually value respect and tolerance in their community. And Hinduism, which is obviously the majority religion, teaches good principles, very much connected to like non-violence and harmony. The country's challenges are obviously made worse by many decades of aggression and terrorism from Pakistan, but the people continue to live and work and build. So I think earlier the comments about India as being a shithole, I think actually that kind of ignores the reality of who people actually are, and what they stand for.
I'm not saying that the ownership.
No, I'm not responding to you, Simon. I was responding to.
I directly said in the opposition.
Was that it? Alright.
I mean, like, again, like, that doesn't exclude, like, I would say, like, Nigeria is also a shithole country, but, like, Nigerian people are extremely hardworking. So it's not to discount, like, the actual people themselves.
Yeah, it wasn't. It's like you weren't the only one that said that. It was also that lady, that Muslim lady earlier, where she said it in a way that was directly not for the reasons that you said it. That's what I was mainly referring to.
I lived in India. I loved India. I don't know. I had a great time when I was there, so I don't think it's a shithole country. But so my question for you is, what do you think about all of the protests going on today in like every city in the UK? Do you think it's gonna work? Do you think people are on with it? It's going on. They're anti like migrant protests essentially. All over the country. Small towns, big towns, cities. Yeah, I was kind of watching the news earlier, and they were like kind of going to all the different cities, kind of like interviewing people, and it's like it's at okay, so it's in at least 40 towns and cities, but I think there's a lot more going on because I saw them in my town too when I was in town. It was smaller though, but yeah. What are your thoughts on this? Because it's getting pretty crazy here.
Yeah, I mean, kind of busy all day. I read a little bit about it. It does seem a bit crazy, man. I need to kind of read up what's going on. I kind of have a gist of what's happening, or can you enlighten me if you don't mind?
Yeah, it's specifically to do with the hotel, the migrant hotels, and they're like protesting at the hotels in all of these different cities. So it's like specifically towards, I don't know if people know what's going on, but in the UK right now, there's been like 250 hotels across the country, all over the place now, where they've been taking these illegal migrants and housing them in there. And the Labour government is telling everyone that it's mostly women and children, when in fact, like, there's even statistics that they're saying that it's like 75% men. And we've been having a lot of issues with them. There have been like a lot of underage girls who were raped by these guys, girls with women are getting sexually assaulted. These guys are not coming from the best places, maybe what Simon would consider a shithole country. And it's getting to be a pretty dire situation in the UK. And I think that like basically the UK is like about to explode. So that's my thoughts on this. And a lot of people are saying it.
Yeah, following what is happening in England, it's very pathetic situation. Even now, even now the votes are coming and the government is not able to stop it. Despite the PM saying that we'll be deporting them. And all as soon as they land, these migrants, they hang around the schools and, stare at all these young kids. It's pathetic, man. If kids are not safe, how will a parent can settle down and be at peace? It's paranoia for them. It will be always be paranoia. Like, what is going to happen to my kid? And the schools are like teaching these kids, like raising them to this, taking them to mosque and doing all this kind of
it's like, you know, story after story, mom just like sees that there's like these random guys that are like on their station cell phone filming their children going to school and things like that. And it's just getting like super dire. And so that's why the UK is essentially breaking down right now, is because, and I think the other side of the outrage that's happening is the fact that we are paying something like 50 billion a year to house these people. So a huge chunk of our tax money is going to these people, and then they're coming here, and then they're making our children very unsafe. So it's like, yeah, so that's sort of the issue here, and that's why it's kind of blowing up.
Yeah, I'm really reading about it, just reading about it now. I did read about this earlier, but I didn't know about so many details of it quite busy today, but I can see why people are angry about it. I guess a lot of people worry about sort of safety and, sort of cultural tensions and stuff. And I think it's good that people are finally kind of speaking up a bit, but I'm not sure how much will change, because obviously the government has been ignoring immigration concerns for so many years now.
Yes, themselves are sleeping up on the road. They are homeless. These people are all sleeping. And pensioners, I think pensioners are being evicted also, in some cases.
My name is Tina Peters. According to
The entire time, taxes paid, the bills, everything has to run by a good citizen. And they are being thrown out on the road. I don't know what's happening. If you look, you suffer like hell, isn't it? I've seen young women on the road, homeless women. Such a sad situation, and they are thrown to this house. Anything can happen to them.
Yeah, I mean, one other big thing that happened that has people in arms is that, one thing that specifically happened that has like veterans in arms, for example, in the UK, is the fact that there was like a government-funded veteran housing estate that they kicked all of the veterans living there out to rehome migrants, like both people. Which is pretty outrageous as well. It's like they care so much about those people that they're willing to like throw their own people under the bus day in and day out, and allow children to get raped, allow women to get raped, allow weird fucking things to happen. I don't know if anybody saw the viral video that happened yesterday in London, where like the guy literally just like clearly like a guy just pulled his dick out in the middle of the subway in front of kids, and like I think like 6 guys just joined in and like picked him up and did a citizen's arrest on him. It's like a super viral video that literally just came out.
You gotta look at it from, can't you see it from the perspective of the Muslim man who's 28, 32, living in a hotel in a foreign country that he's never lived in before? He came out of a war-torn place, and he's angry. He's not feeling that great about his situation in life. So he might take risks and opportunities that violate the law and are antisocial behavior and are just destructive. I'm just saying, what is the perspective and the attitude of the migrant living in the hotel in a major Western city?
So I could kind of disprove your point. So actually, the majority are not coming from war-torn countries. They're actually coming from countries where there's no war going on currently, and they're being called for essentially economic migrants. So it's not, they're not coming, they're coming here to get free money, essentially, because I'm all for taking refugees, getting people out of war-torn countries. If people are unsafe, I would say that the UK, now that it's the free capital of Europe, I would start to say that women and children should probably start migrating out of this country. You can go to a safe country. But yeah, I don't know, a huge portion of these lives are not coming from war-torn countries. They're coming as economic migrants because the government is giving them money, giving them free housing, giving them a cell phone, they get a weekly allowance, and most of them are ending up with permanent residency in the country.
How many of them are sent back?
Almost none. Almost none.
What's the process? How long do they wait for a decision to stay?
Well, there's so many people that have come into the country, the courts are backed up by about 2 to 3 years. So it takes about 2 to 3 years now to find out if they can stay. I think something like 90% okay, and they get permanent residency. And at that point, if just say they do something like rape a child, at that point, they can just rip up their other passport and say, well, I don't have that passport anymore, so you can't deport me from the country. And the other thing that's outraged people is the really lenient sentences that are happening to these people. Like, I've read story after story after story after story of people getting suspended sentences for, like, raping an underage girl because they have these lawyers, these NGO lawyers, that are saying they didn't know that it was wrong.
And on what basis does the government grant them permission to stay? What do they look at?
Lawyers,
when they
NGO
decide
lawyers,
whether or not
they're saying they didn't know that it was wrong.
is it their bond or what is it?
Well, I mean, to be completely honest, based on what's been going on here, I would say that they don't even look at anything. I mean, I would say that it's essentially just unvetted, like, large, mass-scale migration. So there are people that are coming here that have, like, rape charges, for example, or murder charges in the previous country, and they're not checking them. So there's all these people that are in the country now. I mean, one of the things that's, like, really scary, for example, is that the previous Tory government hid an entire Afghani refugee program from the public, and without us knowing, some obscene amount of Afghanis came to the country, and they put a complete media block on it. And it's turning out that a lot of these Afghanis just applied for the program that did not work with the UK Army or the US Army, and were worked as interpreters. And they're actually, now we found out that some of them are also ISIS terrorists. So it's like, it's a complete shit show over here. Like, I've never seen anything like it. I've never seen such a massive breakdown in families. So,
It's almost like the governments want to demoralize the people and cause chaos. I wonder why they want to do that.
Yeah, exactly.
yeah.
I mean, you do realize the only way to rule Clown House or, Clown World is to destroy Clown World or, to essentially divide and conquer.
Pakistan is not at war with anyone. It has not been at war since a long time.
You mean they just attacked India 3 months ago?
Yeah, that's, that demonstrates the agency. If it is war between two countries, just attack the soldiers, isn't it? I had army post. What they did was they retreated into India, 3-4 members. They went to a tourist spot. They literally pulled out because they figured, first of all, they asked whether they can say the Islamic prayer. And when they were in doubt, in order to confirm, they pulled out their pants and checked whether the men were circumcised or not. And they immediately shot them without asking any question. And when the accompanying women was in a state of distress and said, kill us also, they didn't kill them because they wanted to leave people, so they will be in a state of trauma. And everybody, Hindus and Christians also was killed. So this is a religious hatred. That's why you can just type on YouTube, that's why and you find hundreds of videos that prophesize on this. They're already ready for this. And there are people asking, when we conquer India, what will happen to all the Hindu women, whether we'll marry or whether we'll keep them as sex slaves? This is the kind of idiotic question that they are asking the clerics. See the kind of indoctrination and the kind of hatred that they have against others. And even the children are so indoctrinated that a video came up, like we'll be celebrating our next holidays in New Delhi or in Mumbai or in some other city. You know what that implies? That implies that Pakistan will conquer India and they'll either convert or kill all Indians. And even celebrities, that's another, we love the Pakistani cricketers when cricket happens. So even prominent Pakistani cricketers whom we have helped, many times, they were talking about this. They are saying that rivers of blood will flow, which means only one thing, that again the Hindus will be slaughtered by Pakistanis. They believe it is. So it's not Islamophobia or anything pushed. And they do it, whether you like it or not, whether you are friendly or not, whether you do anything for them. They think that is your country is corrupt. They will agree.
From a Western perspective, importing high testosterone young men that are polygamists and militant in nature because of religious and, I guess theocratic programming, it's not desirable because it causes more conflict and more concern and more work on behalf of the new host country. It's like bringing fleas or parasites, into your home. I mean, nobody wants to deal with bed bugs.
Okay, I love the metaphors. They're very. No, but I just think that they were a little bit small, maybe, but it's okay.
The word you're looking for is creative.
I just want you to land. I want you to hit that nail on the head there, John. Not quite there, bro. But I can see what you're saying. I just wish you were like there.
Well, a lot of people, the way they deal with bed bugs, they just throw the whole mattress out and then they got to do a full sterilization of the room. I mean, you can't leave one little critter left, otherwise they can remultiply. You got a whole nother infestation and then you got to throw out that mattress again. It's a lot of work dealing with bed bugs.
Are we the bed bugs?
Well, sometimes you don't know if you're the parasite, and sometimes you don't know if you're the host. But, intelligence is being able to determine whether or not you are the parasite or you are the host.
So, what if we are able to realize we might be the parasite? Are we still intelligent?
I don't know, if you describe yourself as a parasite, would you describe yourself as being intelligent?
I'm not saying that. Maybe sometimes we all can be a parasite, right?
I don't think that's the question. I think the question is ethics. It's what is right, what is wrong, and that should be the guidance when you speak. So if we don't have any guidance, we can talk shit about everyone, we can start a genocide or anything. I just think that we should have our manners in place, that's it.
Agreed, but when your government and your local elected official imports thousands of Muslims into your backyard without even telling you, there's grounds to be a little upset with your elected so-called democratic leaders that are destroying your
that
future.
is all correct. That's all correct. Yeah, sure.
have sent you a website. It's called the religionofpeace.com. It's a very informative website. They update the daily attacks or incidents that happen around the world. It also gives the statistics on what is happening around in the world in a month. It has also some interesting things running like during Ramadan, the number of trees that Muslims make is given as statistics.
Hinduism. Now that's a religion of peace. There we go. The guy who killed Gandhi was in. Okay.
Sorry, I couldn't hear you.
I said Hinduism. That's the religion of peace, right? It's the guy who killed Gandhi, he was a Hindu.
You are saying that the guy who killed Gandhi was a Hindu?
Yeah, he was. That's what I've been reading. He was a Hindu.
Yes, of course he was a Hindu. When women were being raped in Calcutta in Direct Action Day in 1947, you know what Gandhi said to these women? Learn how to get killed. If the Muslims want to rape you, just let them rape you. He was also responsible for Arthur genocide in 1921, wherein the Muslims almost wiped out the Hindu population in certain state of Kerala. And all, including Annie Besant, was criticizing. So he was basically appeasing the Muslims. He allowed them to massacre the Hindus on more than 2 occasions. He considered the creation of Pakistan and Bangladesh. He also sat on a protest to give Pakistan 50 crore rupees. Okay, you know what Pakistan did? They took the money and bought ammunition and raided India.
Can we talk about Israel and the problem Israel has? I mean the problem the Muslims have with Israel instead of other countries, please?
Sure, but
Well, he's saying some interesting things about the Mahatma Ji I've never heard before, and I gotta say, it's a little alarming.
Yes, it's alarming because even I was not aware of it. And only when I grew up and people started saying, I opposed them. I said nothing like that happened. But when I read history, and when I gone through the accounts of those who were privy to it, I have a different view. Maybe yes.
I was going to ask if one of the mods can reset the room and we can start this party.
So it should not just concentrate on Israel because people will think that this is happening only in Israel and you are to be blamed. When you show them that it is happening all around the world, that only then will people realize that this is a global problem and this ideology is a problem. Otherwise, they think this is just a land dispute.
I agree.
So what is it in Islam that gives them this, I guess, feeling of superiority, or I can do whatever the F I want to do?
This is, when they start off in madrasa, that is the Islamic schools, they are totally brainwashed. They are said everything. Like one of my friend, he did not have any much outside contact with other people. So he was told every day that Islam is the most perfect religion. It is perfect according to science, and there are many scientific facts in the Quran. And this has a certain effect on people. Okay. Then there is a Spartan lifestyle. In the